I knew going into this quarter that I was going to be hit with a lot of interruptions with travel. And I also know that getting back to a regular schedule is actually pretty difficult coming back. So today is going to be a get my ish together kind of day, and I'm going to take you along with me. Hi, my name is Dawn Dalton. I am a freelance writer and an author, and I just got back from Gen Con like a couple of days ago. And it is the first of the trips that I knew going into this quarter were going to happen. My plan for getting back to everything after every trip is to get everything put away, cleaned up, and back into a good headspace. Now, the problem with that is it's fine and dandy in theory, but in practice, I haven't done it. We drove back on Sunday, and I, like a genius, did not schedule myself a day off between coming back from Gen Con and going back to work. I didn't have a recombobulation day. I didn't have a day where I could just get everything put away, cleaned up, and get back into a good headspace and out of vacation mode. And this week has kind of proven that that is something that is fairly necessary. I haven't gotten much writing done this week. Of the 3 days since Gen Con, I have written 2,000 words and 4 pages, which is a far cry from the 3,000 words and 6 pages that I'm supposed to have done already this week, and that's not counting today. I also haven't finished unpacking. You can see my suitcase is still in the background. My desk is a bit of a mess because I had to set up my monthly goals and a few of my weekly planner pages. Laundry hasn't been finished. It's been washed, it's been dried, but it has not been folded and put away. So I'm gonna take you guys along with me as we get cleaned up from Gen Con, and then I can tell you all about the fun that I had and how it actually helped refill my well and my plans for the next interruption. So let's get going. I do also want to get a bunch of writing done today, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get all of that done. So if not, if this bleeds into a second day of getting everything organized, it is what it is. I will just do all of that after work tomorrow, but the plan for today is to get the suitcase cleaned up, laundry put away, and get over 1,000 words written and a few pages handwritten. So let's start with putting away my laundry. Okay, that feels so much better now that I've gotten my suitcase put away, my backpack emptied. Basically, most of the stuff of Gen Con is done. Obviously, I have a stack of stuff in front of me that I want to talk about, and then I'll be putting that away. But I do want to talk about why Gen Con. What is Gen Con? Why do I go to it as a writer? Why is it such a well refillable, if that's even a phrase, thing for me? And let's start with, what is Gen Con? Gen Con is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, board game and role-playing and miniature game convention in the US, if not the world. I'm not 100% certain. It originally started in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, moved to Milwaukee when it got to be too big, and then moved again to Indianapolis, Indiana, when Milwaukee could no longer support it. And even at that, Indianapolis really doesn't seem like it can support Gen Con either anymore. All 4 days were sold out this year. My group we used to go as a huge contingent. We'd have a bunch of rooms in one hotel, and in recent years we've all just sort of gone, you know what, me and my husband are going to get our hotel room, and it's going to be in a different hotel than another couple from our group, and another bunch of our friends are going to be in a third hotel, because while we do hang out during Gen Con, it's not necessary that we all stay in the same hotel. And it also allows us the chance that if I buy something large during the day, my friends who are staying in a connected hotel will let me drop off my stuff at their hotel room and not have to carry it around. One of the biggest draws for me for Gen Con is the Writers' Symposium. And it's funny because I wasn't super excited about this Gen Con going into it. I was more concerned about the impact it was going to have on my writing, and I didn't care that we always go. It just wasn't exciting for me until I walked in on Thursday, and my first event was just the opening ceremonies for Writers' Symposium. And I walked into the Marriott and I saw the sign that said Gen Con Writers' Symposium. And the only thought in my head was, I'm home. And it's weird because I didn't actually do that many symposium events this year. Historically, my schedule would be booked all day Thursday, all day Friday, most of the day Saturday, and maybe a couple of events on Sunday, and I'd have to run the exhibit hall to go to the booths that I wanted to go to see the things that I looked up ahead of time. And this year was different in that I didn't have that many events. My Thursday was fairly booked, but beyond that, I would only have a few events each of the other days, including an interview on Sunday that I did for my freelance job at EN World. And a lot of that is the events that are given at Writer Symposium change every year. And some years they're more focused on role-playing games, and some years they're more focused on speculative fiction, depending on who they get to speak at the panels at Symposium. And this year, there were a bunch of events that I wanted to go to. The problem I ran into is a lot of them overlapped. So I had to pick and choose which events I was going to actually take. The other problem that we ran into is most of the symposium events were usually contained in the Marriott within the 5 or 6 ballrooms that we had. And this year the events were in the ballrooms. They were in the Indiana Convention Center, and they were in Lucas Oil Stadium. And you usually get 10 minutes in between events to get from one to the next. Which meant that when I left an event in the stadium and my next event is in the Marriott, there is no way I'm going to make that. And I actually ended up missing an event. And that's okay. It's fine. It just meant that I got to spend more time hanging out with my friends and going through the exhibit hall and enjoying myself. And that's something I haven't really done at Gen Con for the last few years, is just enjoy myself. I'm there as an industry professional and as an author. And it's funny going to this one where I have published a book. I have published a nerdy romance novel. And I didn't really go as an author. I went as a fan. I still went as an industry professional, but I went as a fan. I went curious. I barely looked at the exhibit hall map. I barely looked at the games that were coming out for Gen Con. I didn't really do all of my backlog that I normally do. I just went for the fun of it. And some of the seminars I went to were completely worthwhile. Some of the seminars I went to were completely worthwhile for my husband, who is writing an RPG, and I was just there to take notes. Some of them were worthwhile for me being curious about the topic, and it wasn't explained in the way that my curiosity was piqued. But on top of that, obviously, as a freelance writer, I went and I interviewed people, and I need to write up my interviews because that's what I do. But I also picked up games, and I picked up some books, and I picked up art, and I picked up some stickers. And more than that, I relaxed. I did not go with the intention of, at the end of the day, I'm going to go back to my room and I'm going to write. I did bring along all my writing stuff, but I didn't go back to write. I went back to relax. I went back to enjoy myself. I went back to take a shower and go to sleep and maybe doom scroll TikTok because I'm exhausted. I went to enjoy myself and see my friends, see friends from other states that I don't get to see very often. And I did sign a book at Gen Con. I signed 2, actually. The first one was my buddy Sam bought a copy of Game On the week it came out. And he held on to it. Even though we live in the same city, he held on to it so that at Gen Con, he could walk up to me and he could go, "Can you sign my book?" And the squeal that left me when he did that was probably obnoxious to the people around us. But I got to sign my nerdy romance novel at a nerdy convention. And if all goes according to plan, I will have at least 3 books out by the next Gen Con, and I might be sitting in Author Alley. I have to actually look to find out how much that's going to cost me. But I got to sign my book at Gen Con. And then Friday night, I was hanging out with my friends from Wisconsin, and it hit me kind of hard, actually, that one of the friends I was hanging out with was such a huge influence on my writing career. Not just my novels, but he's the reason I knew about the job at Geek and Sundry, that I knew about the job at EN World. He's the person that we joke that he managed my butt, and it was either get off your butt or put your butt in the chair and work. And so while we were in his hotel room, I'm like, "Can I add to your pile of swag?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course." And so I signed a copy of my book, handed it to him. He read it. I cried. He hugged me. I cried some more. And it was great. So let's go over some of the cool stuff I got. For games, I didn't buy that much. The hubby did. We have a obnoxiously heavy game that is currently being used as a dog barrier. But I bought games the last day of Gen Con. And the game that this company had that I wanted, they were already sold out of, and that was Fire in the Library. So instead, I got the little game Explosion in the Laboratory, which is supposed to be the prequel to Fire in the Library. The other one I got was Studies in Sorcery and the Divination expansion for it. And this is supposed to be a Hogwarts-esque game, but more creepy, where you have to go find your spell components, maybe dig up your spell components. I'm gonna crack into these and figure them out, and I'll probably be writing some reviews on them in the near future on my blog. I can't go to Gen Con and not get books. And the first book I got was my free swag from Writer Symposium, which is a Shadowrun book. One of the things with Writer Symposium this year is they were sponsored by Catalyst Games, so of course we get Catalyst swag. And the books are different from bag to bag, and because the bag is fairly see-through, you can pretty much pick up whatever you want, but I thought it was all Shadowrun books when I went through, so I got a Shadowrun book. Next set of books I got, I have to share with my husband because he bought them. And that is the classic Dragonlance new series. Book 3 came out at Gen Con, and my husband did the event for it. And of course, then we have to get books 1 and 2. And of course, book 1 is no longer in hardcover, so we had to get a paperback. Books 1 and 3 are actually signed to both me and my husband. Book 2 is only signed to him. I'm not really 100% certain why that is. I think it had to do with squirrel brain in the middle of signing books, but so I got those. I also got 2 of my Elminster books signed by Ed Greenwood, because if Ed's at a convention, I am going to get him to sign my books. And last year I completely forgot that I was doing an Ed Greenwood event, and I didn't bring a book. And I bought art. I have these 2 very pretty, that was right side up. 2 very pretty pieces of art by Meredith Dillman. I don't know what I'm gonna do with them. They'll probably end up in one of my planners at some point, sort of like how my star picture ended up last year. And then from Von Art, I got a bunch of super pretty gilded, like so shiny, so pretty. I think this might be next year's piece of art. I tend not to buy huge pieces of art while I'm at Gen Con anymore, just because one of the side effects of doing my Use It Up years and getting everything set up on our walls is the fact that I don't have space for everything, and I have to be very picky about what I'm putting up. So I didn't really buy that much in the way of art. When I buy art, it's usually small little pieces or stickers, because you know, I need more stickers. I've actually been fairly good about using up my stickers so far this year, so I should be able to get these into the rotation and get them used as well. Another thing that I have a tendency to buy is pins, because pins, and I love this little hobbit hole. These will go into the rotation on my bags just so that I have something fun. They'll probably start replacing my NaNoWriMo pins just because I think it's time to rotate those out. And last but not least, I got tea. All of the tea. Well, not all of the tea. I got 3 of the Dryad Teas sample sets. I got the Alice in Wonderland, the Classic Pack Sorcerer, and the classic pack Rogue. Because I love tea. I don't drink it nearly as much as I should, but I was basically out of my dryad tea, so have to buy some more. I think that's basically everything I bought. A lot of what I did end up spending my money on was like food and experiences, which I think is worth more than the stuff I bring home. But now that we have stuff cleaned up, I think it's time to get this stuff put away and to do some writing and get back into the swing of things. So let's get some writing and see how many words I can get done today. Apparently I'm a genius, and even after doing this for a year, I still will forget to pick up my camera and record. So Friday was another half writing day where I only did about half of what I would normally write. Part of that being the fact that I left everything on and around my desk after showing it on camera, and I got overwhelmed by the amount of stuff around my desk, so I just did a lot more cleaning. Saturday and Sunday were really good writing days where I managed to basically catch up to everything that week as far as my writing goes. Now that means that I'm still a little bit behind for the month and quarter because I still missed out the first few days of the month because I was at Gen Con. But I do have some days where my husband won't be around coming up, so I do plan on doing a mini writing retreat, so that'll be fun. So I think I'm gonna end the vlog here. I am refreshed and at least a little bit more relaxed with my writing and my schedule. So I think going to Gen Con did a whole heck of a lot of good. I'm glad that I did manage to pull out a good writing week despite the fact that I didn't give myself a recalibration day. And yeah, so if you've been enjoying this look into my life, be sure to feed the algorithm, boop that like button, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.